All right, Joshua 21. Let's call this one hospitality. Does not literally come out of the text, but once again, we are in a chapter where we are seeing promises made under Moses fulfilled under Joshua, when in the last verse of the chapter, verse 45, it's going to read, "Not one word of all the good promises that the Lord had made to the house of Israel had failed. All came to pass." And so this time, the promises made to the Levites under Moses are going to be fulfilled under Joshua, as the Levites are apportioned their cities. And we're going to see the locations of those cities dispersed amongst the inheritance of the tribes, understanding that the Levites did not have a specific inheritance in Israel other than God himself and the cities that he designated for them, with those pasture lands surrounding the cities. But the interesting thing about this story that caught my attention isn't so much in the chapter as much as it is a few generations in the future, roughly 4 generations into the era of the kings. We're going to see the kingdom divided as the prophesied result of Solomon multiplying wives. And so in the days of his son, Rehoboam, someone who is not his son, a man by the name of Jeroboam, is actually going to be given authority over 10 of the 12 tribes, leaving his son with only 2 remaining. But not to worry, Jeroboam's going to mess it up, because he is literally going to kick these priests, who we see having their cities apportioned to them here in Joshua 21, out of the priesthood, which is essentially going to make them refugees. They are going to flee to Judah and essentially rely on the hospitality of the remaining 2 tribes, the ones that are willing to actually have them and welcome them in. And that hospitality is going to pay off in much the same way we saw Rahab's kindness pay off in the siege of Jericho, because the very red cord she extended to the spies was the one that was used as a signal to spare her during the siege of Jericho. Likewise, it may not be specifically because Judah showed hospitality to the refugee priests, but the 10 tribes in the north quickly begin a descent that doesn't obviously manifest until later, but there are no righteous kings noted in the era of the 10 northern tribes. However, as much as Judah struggled, it recognized greater longevity than Israel, which was taken into captivity first. Understand this, the same lifeline that Judah extended to the priest might have been the one that God used to help keep them on the path of righteousness that he had advised his kings, who were to study the word constantly in order to maintain longevity. It may not be a coincidence that those are the kings who had a longevity that outlasted the larger portion of Israel. It also reminded me of this. It wasn't the last time large portions of Israel would have to seek refuge outside of their home territory, because it reminded me of the time during the Holocaust when Hitler persecuted Israel, or persecuted the Jews. And this irony is something we talk about here from time to time. See, in his persecution of Israel, before he attempted the genocide, he drove many people into different countries that would show them hospitality. One of those was the United States. And among those he drove away were some very brilliant physicists, one by the name of Albert Einstein. And among those physicists that he drove away, some ended up working on the Manhattan Project, which ended up producing the nuclear bomb. And so because of Hitler being defined by what he hated, he ended up essentially giving America nuclear technology, the key to which he had in his own borders. But because he was defined, once again, by what he hated, he drove the very thing that could have blessed him away. And so we use that illustration to sometimes recall the ways, much like in the lives of Rahab and in the lives of the Levitical priest, the very lifeline you throw to others, the very hospitality you show to others, may be the lifeline through which God blesses you. So my prayer for you is my prayer for me, that we not be one defined by what we hate. And likewise, that we not be so blinded by anything that we drive away the very things God would use to bless us.